This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to the Voice for Fitness Professionals podcast, where I share programming, marketing, and promotion strategies that are easy, enjoyable, even fun, so you can create a business and a life you love. And today we're talking all about business. In fact, we're geeking all about what you can do with your website. Alec Gorjestani, and boy, did I practice that, is an engineer who has been writing all kinds of software for 16 years. From automated vehicles to mobile to web software, he likes to build things. Having run a business and having a wife who is a Zumba instructor, Alec understands the unfun tasks that are required to run a business and help people learn wellness. He's committed to helping you do just that. Alec, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Deborah, for having me.
So, and we should just say the elephant to the room. So, no mistake, Alec is an engineer. I am not. So I will take it on as my personal task to make sure that what we relay to you listeners, if I think, even intuit that you'll have a question, I'll get Alec to break it down. And we have already talked about the fact that this potentially could make your eyes roll back in your head. And I get that. But we probably, as fitness pros today, need to know something about SEO. Number one, there are a lot of rumors going around about SEO, and I should probably say this out loud. That means search engine optimization. So let's start at the very, very beginning. In fact, Alec, what is that? What actually is search engine optimization?
Yeah, it's kind of a techie term. I don't know who coined it, but it sounds more intimidating than it really is. It's basically just getting search engines, making it easier for them to find your site. You know, there's millions, if not hundreds of millions of websites out there. So how does one find your site? So it's just doing things to make that easier for search engines. And I primarily talk about Google since it's the most popular, but you know, they have crawlers out there that go through the internet and try to find pages and index them. And you're just trying to do the best you can to make them understand what your website's about, what do you do, and who might be interested in what you're offering.
Perfect. Love that. So if I can summarize it, maybe in a way my brain can wrap around, this really ultimately, so confirm or tell me, no, you're on the wrong track. This is really going to help when my or a listener's ideal customer is at home, frustrated, not getting results, and they type a question into some browser asking Dr. Google or whoever it may be, how do I lose weight? Or why can't I tone my thighs? When they're asking that question, if we have the answer, if that's a customer we're actually going for, and we're doing search engine optimization well, our blog or our video would pop up. Am I right?
That's exactly right. And if you've talked about that very subject and you've done the correct things in SEO, there's a very good chance that Google will find it. Now, of course, you're competing with everyone else, so that's not a guarantee. But what you're trying to do with SEO is give yourself a fighting chance.
Fantastic. Okay, so here's a question I have to ask you, because whether this is rumor or whether this is hype or somebody just using a great subject line in order to make everybody nervous, so we click on it. Is SEO dead, or is it still very much alive and we actually need to be optimizing it as well as we possibly can?
It is very much alive. It has changed over the years, though. SEO, way back when Google started, it used to be more about trying to trick the Google crawlers to get your site to rank high. They're a very smart company with very smart people, and they've gotten better at making that difficult, and not only difficult, sometimes will punish you for doing that kind of thing. So it's still very much alive, but now you have to do it more honestly. You have to truly try to provide value instead of any of these kind of tricks that used to be successful. But yeah, it's very much alive, because think of yourself. How often do you use Google to find stuff? I would say every day for me, and your customers are likely the same.
Great. Good to know. And for the people that I hope are listening right now, it's good news. So it means that not necessarily more and just volumes and volumes of content, but good content backed by research is going to get more traction. Right?
Absolutely. Yep. And another thing that we have kind of more in our favor now than when the internet started is mobile devices. And a lot of search now is location aware. So the advantage that brings you is if you're teaching in your hometown and you have events and you properly code them for SEO, you will have coded the location of that, of one of your classes or services. And Google knows that. So when someone's searching on a mobile phone, they'll actually look for stuff near you. And that really is a great way to get through the noise of the whole internet because it's very local and it's becoming more and more so.
Okay, so this, I jotted something down while you talked, and I know you had said something similar before, and I let that one go, but this is going to make me sweat. So I hesitate to ask this because I think myself, I speak for me, but I'm thinking this is a lot like many of us. We would much rather bury our head in the sand than dive deep into this, but I know we need to do it. So when you say properly code them, what does that mean?
Yeah, so this is where we get into the technical aspects. And I can talk about non-technical things you can do that require no coding skills or anything. But one of the technical things you can do is encode in something called structured data. So there's a way to code events and people in a way that basically lets the search crawlers know, okay, this is an event. This is an event at this time, this date, this location. It's just, again, like I said in the beginning, it's just making it so that it's easier for the search crawlers to understand your site and understand what you're offering. So that's what I meant by coding it correctly, is coding it in such a way that Google knows it's an event and it knows it's a date and a time and a location, and this is what the event's about. Knowing that, then people looking for that kind of thing near you, it knows, oh, hey, I know about this event near you, and I know it's coming up this week. Let me show it to you. So that's what I meant by it.
Great. Okay. So in order to do that, I, or a person like me, needs a coder, needs a developer who's going to get this. So what I find I need to do is know what's possible. I need to know what I need to do. I don't need to be the person doing it. So I so appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so let's backtrack now. Put the confidence back in me. What are some non-techie things that we can do to improve SEO?
Yeah, sure. And this anyone can do, really. One is just create, like you said earlier, create quality content. You're an expert in your field, you know your stuff. Well, share that with the world. If you know something about a subject, you can write a blog post about it. There are many different blog mediums. You can go to sites that just do blogs. That's all they do. Your own site can have a blog. That's pretty standard these days. So just create content that will help people find you and establishes authority too. People read it and they know, oh boy, she knows her stuff. I would say that's number one, because Google more and more is looking, and they're using kind of AI, artificial intelligence, to understand sites more. So they're trying to understand what content means and what's valuable content. So they place a high value and priority on high quality content. So that is, I think, one of the top things you can do. Another thing that's overlooked that people don't do is they, either have someone build their site or they build it themselves, and then they rub their hands off and say, okay, I'm done. But what you really should be doing then after that is try to share that site link everywhere you can. And there's lots of ways to do that. I mean, your own social media pages, you can create a Facebook account, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, Pinterest, and make sure you put a link to your site in there, because another way that Google ranks sites is based on how many people link to you. So they kind of establish, well, a lot of people are linking to this site, it must be important. So you can do yourself a favor by trying to create what's called backlinks, basically just a link to your site from everywhere you can. And there's, business listings like Google Business. There's obviously LinkedIn, Manta, Hotfrog. There's all these different sites out there that list businesses. So you can find those and get your site in there. So then you have backlinks to your site.
Great suggestions. Okay. So another reason to be everywhere, or be that person or business where your customers say, you're everywhere. I see you everywhere. Awesome. And what about, there's a little philosophy about getting or buying backlinks, having somebody, request a backlink in exchange for writing a blog. I mean, what's your take on that process?
Yeah, I think if it's genuine, you're actually contributing content for someone, I think it's perfectly acceptable to ask for them to backlink to you. I think that's fine. Where you can get in trouble is if there's services out there where you can actually pay for them to create backlinks. Mm-hmm. And Google obviously frowns against that. And if they discover you're doing things like that, they might punish your site rankings. But if it's authentic, you're actually writing blogs for people, or if someone mentions you somewhere, I think it's totally fine to ask them, hey, if they didn't include a link to your site, just ask them, hey, would you mind? You already mentioned this. Can you just put a link in there for my site? As long as it's genuine like that and it's mm-hmm. a true exchange of ideas or relationship, I think it's perfectly fine and very good for SEO.
Fantastic. Okay. How do we know that we're doing well, or just maybe how do we know we're not doing well? How do we know how we're doing with SEO? What's the best way to measure that?
Yeah, there are lots of tools out there. A lot of them are paid services, and to be honest, they're quite pricey for an individual. But there are a couple of free ones. I've used Google's Search Console. So if you have a Google account, you can put your site in there, and then it shows you basically search impressions over time. So every time someone searched for something, they showed a link to your page. When you search for stuff, mm-hmm. there's a listing of things. If your site comes up there, it'll let you know, and it counts them. So that's probably the best way. And that graphs it over time. So if you see if that graph is going up, you're doing well. Also in that same tool, Google Search Console, there's a backlink analyzer. So you can click on it and it shows everyone who's linked to your site that it knows about. So that's a number you obviously want to continue to grow. So that one doesn't graph for you, but you can just jot it down occasionally, check every week and see that's growing. And that's another good way to kind of measure how well you're doing.
Great tip. Okay, awesome. How long does it take? Let's say I'm not doing so well and I have a sick SEO. How long does it take to get better?
Yeah, and this is the part that may turn some people off, because it's not a quick fix kind of solution. It's not like you just do this and then overnight your rankings go up. It's kind of a overtime process. So I've heard anywhere from 6 to 12 months. Like when you really start hitting SEO and doing it well, you'll mm-hmm. start to see results. But the good thing is it keeps growing on itself. So if you make that commitment for 6 months, you'll start seeing improvements in several months, but it'll really start getting better after 6 months. And since it builds on itself, the more you keep doing, it just gets better and better. But yeah, Fantastic. It's not going to be like do it now and next week you're going to see the results.
So content marketing, it's a long game, right?
It's a long game, yes.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Yeah. And let's say, I think right now, fitness, we can say we've really been in our infancy as far as an industry goes. So maybe we're 35 years in. I mean, really having sunk our teeth in. And I say that because this is my 35th year in fitness. And there are probably those of you listening maybe who have been in it for 40 years. But there's some SEO juice in longevity, isn't there? I mean, we're only going to grow. So if you're thinking right now you're behind and your SEO isn't good, the hopeful change is that, in 5 years or in 10 years, you can still be way ahead of any of those newer businesses and websites. Am I on track with my thinking, Alec?
You're exactly right. In fact, that age and the age that you've been around and your website's been around actually is a big factor in SEO. The longer you've been around, the more history you have, the more Google has history about you and how much traffic you're getting, and the better it is. So yeah, you're right. It gets better the longer you've been around.
Good. So never too late. And I almost heard him say, like, the older you are, the better. So that's a good thing. Okay. So I may be backtracking and asking you to answer something, but that you feel like you have. But I think to listeners, we haven't phrased it quite like this. So one of the things I think that as a business owner makes me nervous is there are things that I know, as far as I might know Facebook ads, I know what my eye likes, so I can pick images and graphics and fonts. Okay. But when it comes to like the building of the guts and the back pages of websites, that makes me nervous because I don't actually know what questions to ask. I don't know necessarily what's possible, and I am turning it over into kind of a black hole. What questions should I or any other business owner be asking developers or tech staff that we don't know to ask about SEO?
Yeah, I would say you should ask about some of the technical questions, and I mentioned one about structured data. So ask them, make sure they're coding things in structured data. The tech term is JSON-LD. So you can ask them, are you using JSON-LD? Another one to make sure that your web developer is doing is filling in what's called meta tags, META. Mm-hmm. And those help search engines describe the title of your site and a description of your site, and make sure those are entered in correctly. And then a third, I would make sure that they are adding a sitemap to your site. Sitemap, think of it as like a directory, like when you go in a building and you see who's on each floor. It's kind of like that, where it just lets the web crawler know, these are all the pages in my site. These are the addresses, go crawl them. So that's a third thing I would make sure your web developer is aware of. If you're doing it yourself, there are some services that can help. If you're doing like a WordPress site, there are some plugins that help with SEO, but they just kind of bring it more to the forefront for you. You still have to fill in the information. My company, Offering Tree, kind of does all the SEO stuff for you. So that's another option if you want kind of more kind of hands-off approach. So everything in between, from asking your developer these things to services that kind of do it for you. It's up to you, how you want to attack that.
Fantastic. I love that. Okay. So when you say some WordPress plugins that might make it easier, are you talking about Yoast? Is that one? Or?
Yep. Yoast is one of them. There's several pretty good quality ones. Just, I like to look at the star rankings and how many downloads it has. The higher, the better. So yeah, Yoast, and we use I forget the name of it, but the website or everyday SEO or something like that. There's a lot of them out there, and they all do a decent job.
Awesome. Great suggestions. And those 3 tips about what to ask were priceless. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Alec, because I can probably, you've already gleaned this, that I'm out of my element completely. I know I need to know this, but I don't know necessarily what it is I need to know. Is there a question I should have asked you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I guess we covered most of everything I wanted to cover. I think the important thing is the psychological part is just persistence. It's really tough to stick with something that takes months. It's like losing weight in a way. You could do it for 2 weeks and get some results, but it's the long haul that's important. So I would say just try to be patient, keep at it, keep writing content. You won't see the results right away, but they'll pay off, just like a new diet or exercise regimen. Results will come. And if you're not comfortable doing it yourself on the tech side, get some help. There's people out there that'll help you. There's services that'll create sites for you. I'd use one of those if that's a barrier for you. But the non-technical stuff you can do, just keep at it.
And while we're on that note, Alec, what's the best way to get a hold of you? You mentioned Offering Tree. Best location, do you want to give a URL here and we can insert?
Yes, definitely. offeringtree.com/Deborah. And if you go to that site, that's our website, and you'll see all the things our service offers. It's a full website service for fitness instructors. So everything you need, scheduling tools, SEO, all that stuff's built in. So you don't have to deal with it if you're not into that techie stuff.
Yeah, fabulous. When you said hands off, I'm like, yep, please sign me up. Okay. while you were talking, though, in the last one, I came up with one more question. So I want to ask you this, and this is, I think, for most of my listeners. I mean, we are the small guy. We are the small business, maybe hoping to be a moderate business, and grow up. But do we have any advantage when it comes to SEO over, say, a large umbrella business that serves small children doing, fitness classes or childcare, and adolescents who are doing sports and pre and postnatal and older adult activities and aqua and yoga and everything under the sun? I'm just intuiting that they're not going to write a lot about any one topic. And yet a small business who's really niching down and specializing will be writing about one thing over and over. Is that an advantage for the little guy?
It is. It is an advantage because the more tightly defined your content is, anyone searching for that content, it'll be easier for them to find you. And as I mentioned earlier, I think another advantage the little guy has is that location and local subjects are important. So if there's any way you can make your content local and pertinent to the people around you, the better. And again, if you can post your classes with a location to them, it's going to be easier for others to find your classes around you because everything these days is local, right? So someone might have national reach, but really decisions are made locally. Where's the gym I can go to? A lot of times it depends on where you are. So I think those kind of things, niche content and being local and publicizing the places, the locations that you teach, I think are ways the little person has the advantage.
That was a great answer. Thank you so much. So,
You're
fitness
welcome.
pros, there you go. The hope and the science behind SEO. If you have a question, and I am going to guess that you do, leave it below the show link at today's show at fitnessmarketingmastery.com/SEO. And I would appreciate it if you'd leave us a rating in iTunes because that really helps us. And read other blogs and listen to other podcast episodes at fitnessmarketingmastery.com so that you can make a difference.